Hi, I'm Walk, and these are my Wednesday thoughts for December 9th. In our Advent study this winter at First Presbyterian, we're looking at songs of the season. In the last study, we heard two ancient songs that have become Advent classics, carols, O Splendor of God's Glory Bright, and Savior of the Nations Come. I was more familiar with the latter, but it's cool to learn about both and how they were each used to teach good theology and fight heresy back in the 300s and today. One of the things that marks all the Christmas carols and Advent songs in the hymn book is their good Orthodox theology. There are lots of Christmas songs about Santa and reindeer and trees, but we don't sing them in church. Well, maybe at a sing-along or when we go caroling, but in worship, the songs are about Jesus and his birth and how he is both fully God and fully human. We use phrases like incarnate deity, God and sinners reconciled, Christ the babe and Lord of all. This is what the Bible teaches and what the church has made clear throughout history. Nevertheless, there are people, even people today, who don't think Jesus is Lord. That's one of the simplest and most basic pieces of Christian theology. Peter preached it. Paul wrote it. Christians have said it in their baptisms. It's in the Apostles' Creed and the Nicene Creed. But even today, there are Unitarians who think only God the Father is God, and Jesus was just a guy who lived and preached 2,000 or so years ago. I need to talk with some of my Unitarian Universalist friends to better understand their point of view. I don't understand it. You may have neighbors or co-workers who don't believe that Jesus is God. Then, of course, we have Muslim and Jewish neighbors who don't believe in Jesus. Interestingly, the Muslims have a little bit higher view of Jesus as a prophet and one sent by God than our Jewish friends do. In the late 300s, there was a preacher named Arius who lived in Alexandria, Egypt, among Christians there. He was a monk, and many followed him. He was part of the church, but he believed that Jesus was just a man, perhaps the firstborn from God and a great preacher and a miracle worker, but not God. Arius had a lot of followers and was a great preacher, and he wrote hymns. He taught this weak theology through songs. Some of the words, but not the tunes, survive in manuscripts in dusty libraries. His followers were called Arians, and you'll hear that term used today. That's not the white supremacist Arians, but the heretic Arians. So Ambrose, the bishop of Milan, countered Arian and his followers by writing his own good sermons and popular hymns that say very clearly, Jesus is Lord. As our songs this week are by Ambrose, and they emphasize that Jesus is Lord. Listen to these words in his song. Savior of the nations come. Virgin's Son, make here your home. Marvel now, O heaven and earth, that the Lord chose such a birth. From God's heart to the Savior speeds, back to God his pathway leads, out to vanquish death's command, back to reign at God's right hand. And another verse, praise we sing to Christ the Lord, Virgin Son, incarnate Word. To the Holy Trinity we praise and sing eternally. That's great theology. Trinitarian, solid, orthodox theology, like all the songs in the hymn book. We remember the words of songs, don't we? Some of us learn geography or the periodic table by singing it. We're actually teaching good theology when we sing the tried and true carols of the church. Perhaps this is one of the reasons people fight so fiercely in the worship wars. We're not just thinking about instruments and songs, but theology. I'm grateful there's so many good contemporary songs now with solid theology, so we don't have to fight anymore. The Advent study continues on Tuesday mornings until Christmas. I invite you to call the church office for Zoom information. This study, this Walks Wednesday Words, usually summarizes it from a week before. So next week in the Wednesday Words, we'll talk about the study from this week when we looked at O Come, Emmanuel, and Joy to the World. Finally, a reminder that First Presbyterian will worship at 9 on Sunday, December 13th. Come join us in person. Then on the 20th, we'll be in a tent outside at 10 a.m. And on Christmas Eve, December 24th, we'll be back in the tent at 3 p.m. to celebrate Jesus' birth on Christmas Eve. Hope to see you in person in one of the worship services, or certainly on this video next week.